Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We finally found a documentary that we do not recommend you watch.
And it's about how in 1817, a disembodied voice manifested in horrifying encounters in the town of Adams, Tennessee.
Why do humans love folklore? Why does this particular story fall short for us?
Let's talk about the Mark of the Bell Witch.
Welcome to the Disorg, a podcast where we unpack big ideas from documentaries and the tangents they lead us down. I'm Christian.
I'm Katie.
I'm Grant.
And I'm Mo.
If you make it to the green room, let us know, and check out the description to know what we're watching next. A quick disclaimer on this episode. You'll find that we do not shy away from critiquing this film. However, we need to be clear that we are not making any personal attacks against the filmmakers, the actors, or those they interviewed, and we do not in any way endorse our viewers or listeners to make any personal attacks on those who were involved in this documentary. Critique the work. Don't be a bully.
Hey.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. All right. Well, as you can see, my lighting is a little bit different today. But if you're not a video,
And your hair.
and my hair, yeah, but that's not the
Just got a
important.
haircut.
That's not important right now.
It
Okay.
would have been hilarious if it was someone completely different from Christian, and
Yeah,
like
exactly.
all we remark on is like the lighting.
That's so funny. Change
Here's
up the lighting a little
change.
bit. Yeah, it makes such a dramatic difference. Wow, that's
it really does.
crazy. You look
a
like
whole new
different person.
perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I'm seeing you in it, literally in a new light. Anyway, so we watched a documentary this week that was entitled "The Mark of the Bell Witch." It talks about the Bell Witch, the aforementioned Bell Witch, and the Bell Witch haunting of 1817 to 18.
You sound really spooky right now.
I know, because it's a spooky documentary.
It's a spooky movie.
I was spooked.
It's a
watching
goofy
it.
movie.
No, it's very
a movie.
serious. It's a movie.
So scary.
There were moving pictures on screen. So let's give it a quick summary of the documentary and the Bell Witch haunting. So the Bell Witch, or the Bell Witch haunting, is a legend from southern United States folklore centered on the 19th century Bell family of northwest Robertson County in Tennessee. Farmer, and let's be clear here, slaver John Bell Sr. resided with his family along the Red River in an area currently near the town of Adams, Tennessee. According to legend, from 1817 to 1821, his family in the local area came under attack by a mostly invisible entity that was able to speak, affect the environment, and shapeshift. Some accounts record the spirit also having been clairvoyant and capable of crossing long distances with superhuman speed, or just being in more than one place at a time.
Oh my God, it's terrifying.
Oh my God, it's a UFO.
Yeah, more like a unidentified spiritual anomaly.
Unidentified freaky object.
Yes. This is
Freaky.
a little asterisk is, while not a fundamental element of the original recorded legend, the Bell Witch Cave in the 20th century became a source of continuing interest, belief, and generation of lore. This documentary was horrifyingly bad. It was really bad.
It was
a
so
really
fucking bad.
terrible
I'm
documentary.
really sorry to the people who
to the
produced it, but
filmmakers, yes.
it's quite not great.
We're going to give a very honest review of this documentary. And this is like no personal attacks. We're not going to be like saying anything bad about the people who made it, who were in it. I might talk about the people who were being haunted, as I said in the little
I
intro.
actually want to talk about Mr. Bell's wig, but I think that's okay.
That's different. No. Again, no
That
personal
wig.
No personal attacks on the actors, the people who appeared in the documentary, the
But I
documentary
can come for your
makers.
wig.
We
Actually,
can, but
your
we
wig.
can we can talk about the making of, and that includes that damn wig. Okay.
Oh my
So,
God, that anyway. Yeah,
Yes.
so just to highlight for everybody what our collective thoughts, I would say, for the most part, is that the story of the Bell Witch, the content of the interviews, the research done, there's nothing wrong with that. It was the production that really, oh, okay, Grant, what were you going to say?
I don't know about that. I'm gonna be honest. Frequently throughout the course of this documentary was how the story was told. So many times logical leaps were made. Like I'm not the kind of guy to be like ghosts, no way. But constantly there were things that they were like, so this happened, so that means ghost, and I was just like, well, hold on, I don't even know how that even how did we get here? Like,
my man, you saw a turkey vulture. It's a big bird.
Yeah, they were like, it was a big bird and it wasn't a turkey. I'm like, have you heard of an eagle, my guy?
Yeah, exactly. Or like literally anything.
It's fine if it's like sensational in some way, but you have to get me there, and they did not at all.
You're so right. I think what I meant is more like the research done and like the people involved, as in like the people interviewed on screen. That was all fine.
The historians, the folklore people.
It wasn't like they were talking about and we were like, why are we learning about plastic bags while I'm supposed to learn about the Bell Witch? Like there was a connection, but the actual production, I think the recreations of the events, the weird chapters that were created to separate
30,000
everything.
chapters.
Oh my God.
And like going back to so like something would happen and then a chapter like 3 chapters down would like be called what the
like
last
the
event was.
inconsistency upon
Chapter
which
8
they
was
were.
origins.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to because I talked
And we
about,
didn't need chapters.
No, we really didn't.
I would argue for kiboshing the chapters.
Yeah, I just need to. I need to take responsibility for this documentary because I was
You
the one.
don't.
But I do.
No,
This is what
you should.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for holding me accountable because I'm trying to be accountable. But I'm the one who recommended this documentary because I love like witchcraft and the occult and things like that. Like that kind of stuff really, it gets the blood pumping for me, and I get really into it. I did some research and I found about the Bell Witch and I found this documentary. Should have looked into the documentary a little bit more. But the Bell Witch is like the quintessential American ghost story. It is the American ghost story in many ways. It inspired The Witch. It inspired.
Excuse me, the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, that's you, Katie.
Jersey Devil is really interesting.
I actually have no idea what the Jersey Devil is.
Oh, a
about.
whole nother topic.
Let's stick with it for a second.
For a second.
For
But
just
I
one
think in
little
your
second.
defense, Chris,
Oh,
a
the
lot
Blair
of the
Witch.
reviews.
The Blair Witch
Yeah.
inspired the Blair Witch. Like one of the greatest horror movies of all time.
Yeah.
And
But I
it's-
think a lot of the reviews out there were really positive.
Yes.
So,
So when we looked at, I didn't watch the trailer or anything like that, but all of the reviews were quite positive. It had like a 6 out of 10 on IMDb, 4 out of 5 stars here on Amazon or whatever. So I'm like, okay, are just like people not into witch? Is it a little cheesy? Who knows? Let's watch it. I go in blind to these things, and holy crap, just like, yeah. So that's on me for not really doing my research. We have our first dud. First documentary dud.
But Chris and I said we think it'd be really funny if, like, once in a while we watch a dud.
Yeah.
And we talk about a dud. It gives a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if I want it to be like that we go like find one, or it is like a cryptid and we just happen upon them in this manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have to do it on purpose. I think it'll just be like part of the, because we're interested in topics, right? And so eventually we're going to find something like, oh, I really want to explore this, something about rocks. And then we find some documentary and it turns out to be crap.
Yeah.
I think that's just going to happen.
I think
Yeah.
so too.
It's about rocks, but it doesn't rock.
Ha ha ha.
But so what I was feeling about it when I was watching it was just like a general sense of disappointment, because I think kind of what we're talking about, from if we're going to go to a much more, let's stop like just like freaking out about how bad it was for a second and start to address like why it was bad. I think it's because, one, they didn't have like a cohesive vision about what the documentary was going to be about and how they wanted to present it. They had these moments where they were doing like illustrations, and that was the stuff that I was like, oh, this is so cool. I love like the use of like an old style of drawing or painting to tell this story, especially like in a storybook kind of way when it's something so dark. But then they had to come in with these recreations that just like were really rough.
The bed, if you will.
Yeah,
Ooh.
like the acting was terrible. The guy who played John Bell Sr. was literally the entire time, like they were saying like, and they were like hearing whispers and chains rattling, and his
And he
face was this.
like,
literally just like he'd hear a noise and be like, the most nonchalant. and he's the one that the witch was trying to kill. And so,
And it was a wig, like if you wanted to play an old lady or wear an old lady costume during Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this fucking huge edge here? It looked crazy.
not good.
I must show this.
Yes, we need to have a little
For
reference
audio
here.
listeners, f- you.
For audio listeners, I mean, like, hopefully you watch the documentary so you know what we're talking about. But yeah, it was rough. All right, tell me when you're.
Here comes the wig.
Wow. It's amazing.
Also,
It's
at
so
one
good.
point, Katie pointed out that one of the people who was like in the recreations from old timey Tennessee had like a black T-shirt on underneath their button down.
I was like, sir, that is a black wife beater from Hanes that you buy at Walmart. That is not something you find in early 1800s Tennessee.
After he does the exorcism, he's got to get over to trivia night. Okay, it's just he's got his team.
Chris, in
T-shirt
fact,
on.
was. Are you wearing a black one right now?
What? No, I'm wearing gray.
Oh, you
Gray
have a
undershirt.
black one.
I do have a black one.
Chris also pointed out the string, the little piece of fishing
Oh
wire.
yeah, when like
to
there was
pull
like
her
pulling on
hair.
her hair, you can see the fishing wire. So yeah, for me it was just like this kind of level of disappointment because the story of the Bell Witch is like, it is like the quintessential American folklore ghost haunting story, and it inspired all these other things. And also there were some genuinely like really cool things that are in the text about like it started as a whistle. Like you just heard a slight whistle and then it grew in power and suddenly it was just like wind or like breath. And then it was whispers, so light that it was almost unintelligible. And then it was very slight whispers, and then it was a full voice. Like that is so cool. Like that from a lore, ghostly kind of thing, really sick. Also, the point at which somebody else was being haunted by the witch. What was that person's name? William Porter. William Porter was in his own house when he felt the presence of the witch inside of his bed and managed to like wrap it up in the bed sheet and was carrying it to the fire. And the description of it is that it started to feel, it was like wrestling with him, and it started to feel less like the body of a human and more like a massive snake.
Yes.
And suddenly a pungent odor filled the room, and he couldn't make it before he had to like get out of the cabin to go vomit because it was so awful. Like that is dark and spooky and scary. Like there's something, I'm so disappointed at how they interpreted this story or how they framed this whole thing, because they didn't lean into those moments. And they also, I mean, they really couldn't find what they were trying to lean into. They didn't know. They just were like, okay, this is a story. Let's get a bunch of people talking about it. But then there was no real weave of that story. So yeah, I think disappointment is really what I feel, because it could have been really cool in many ways. There were so many, like in the opening shot, the state currently of this small town in Tennessee, right? I think there was also a lack of story about Adams, right? And Adams' history beyond just the witch. It was all about the witch right out the gate, like nothing else. And that really made it suffer as a documentary.
Yeah. It
was,
just everything. Just like all production elements. It was like, I think pieces of documentary storytelling were all sort of like shoved into a pile and like forced to work. I think one that really bothered me, that there was a woman reading the text of Martin. I thought it was really confusing because we had a lot of other elements. Like, why wouldn't you have a male voice? Maybe one with some sort of period accent or like changing of his voice to supplement the recreation. I think that would support the recreation, even though the recreation was terrible. The recreation itself, I don't even think we really needed it. We have recreation, we have voiceover, we have drawings on screen, which, Chris, I agree, I thought they were really nice. We have the use
We
of
have
chapters.
historical documents and drawings to show on screen as well.
Yeah.
There was a 2-minute segment where there's just scrolling text for...
the
Holy
fucking
shit.
Star Wars scroll.
Why would you do that on a visual medium?
Oh my
Also,
It was
God.
horrifying.
Also, just from that perspective too, most of like the credits or like names and things like that, it was like white on white. I was like, God,
Yeah.
I really
So
hope
hard to read.
they never put it against like a darker background, because I would have hated to read this. Yeah, it was like, wow, out of nowhere.
Yeah, I hated the white on white. I think my first preview into thinking that this might be bad was the text in the beginning. like introducing all the people who are involved in it, and it's like you could read probably half the letters, and I'm like, oh, if
And
this
then it was just like
motherfucker
a
can't
jumble of,
choose
like,
a
vines
good
or
font
veins or something. Yeah.
we're f***ed. Yeah, it's like you need to choose a good font. And also, like, you can do that scroll of text in iMovie. So they definitely just threw that into iMovie, and they were like, this works for the information that we have not covered. Yeah, like, I'm going to have to read around, like, the little light.
It goes until 7. It's
nearly
2 full minutes.
It doesn't make any sense.
This makes me want to watch another one of their documentaries to see if they've learned anything. But at the same time, this documentary came out in 2020, I'm pretty sure.
Imagine this was their final one.
It's not. The thing is, Small Town Monsters has an interesting mission, which is to go and find these untold stories or these stories that kind of have faded in history.
I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah. And they're doing it on
Yeah.
a shoestring budget. They're mainly doing it off of Kickstarter backers, which is really admirable. They're indie, and they hit a specific kind of audience, and we're just not that audience to a certain degree. But
also, like, less is more. Like, if you don't have a huge budget, like, less is more. It's almost like, let's throw everything at the wall and try to produce this big thing, and it just shoots itself in the foot.
totally.
Katie, what's the text you're talking about at the beginning?
It's introducing the people in the corner. So if you bring it up,
Okay.
Yes.
you see this, I'm like, okay.
Seth and Adrian Breedlove. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the directors.
I think if it was a little bigger, it had a little more space in between, maybe it would have worked. Maybe if it didn't have the, like, back sort of vines behind it or whatever that's supposed to be. But God, I was like, okay, the Bell
Wait,
Cabin.
Sorry, just a complete tangent. You rented that on Vimeo?
Yeah, it was so weird. I couldn't find it anywhere, and I looked everywhere.
Canadian Amazon?
Yeah, exactly. So
that'll do it.
for Canada, I couldn't get any. I could have pirated it, but I found it on Vimeo. I was too lazy to pirate it, so I just ended up paying
And
like
that's
$5 to rent it.
illegal.
Illegal.
It is illegal to do that. You wouldn't download a car, Mo.
Yeah. Watch it where I watched it, called Fossum.
Oh my
Streaming service
God.
that's free that required me to watch 7 ads every ad break.
Honestly, wait. So Katie and I watched this straight through because I don't like ads. I think the experience would have been elevated by watching it with ads. I think that
It was.
I think
I
that
needed a
would've-
palate cleanser.
Yeah, exactly. Every now and again, it's just like, come on down to Kmart or whatever.
Yeah. There was a lot of sort of like visual elements that really didn't add up. It was very confusing. I agree with the storytelling was very confusing. What I think I meant more is like the source material, the interviewers, they're all like standing on solid ground. It's just how it all came together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was one point at which I've got 3 things that I want to hit really quickly. At one point towards the end, after everything was said and done, they were trying to introduce like a last minute like injection of information about
Yes.
like, the spiritual side of this thing where it's like an actual haunting. But what if we logically look at it for a second, and they were trying to get through that this other guy might have been behind this and like fabricated it to a certain degree.
Like a Scooby-Doo analysis.
Yeah, exactly. However, I could barely understand that man's train of thought. And so I just felt like I was, at the family reunion and great Uncle Joe cornered you and was just rambling on and on about, because over John and whatever his name was, it came over and remember the Bell Witch, and then it came on phone, and then we didn't want to get married. They wanted to marry. It's just like, okay, whoa.
I'm stuck.
We were literally just talking about, the finals of the NBA. Can we rein this in for a second? It was
Yeah.
crazy.
That was the
Yeah.
part I was most interested in, if they could like get it across, because that was like a super rational explanation, but it's also like very gossipy. If they got that part right, at least I would have had something positive out of it, because they talked about neighborhood politics, star-crossed lovers, family dynamics, like all the social reasons that real people would want to recreate some sort of witch thing to get what they want. Very much like you would look at the end of a Scooby-Doo episode where you're like, oh, it's because this person had this motivation and then this happened and then they wanted this, so they did this.
Meddling kids.
There you go. But yeah, they didn't land the landing.
No.
Was that when they were in the church?
Yes. And also
Okay.
the camera work, it was like it was
We got so many great shots of close-up wood.
yeah.
Oh my god, so many.
That's not
The
a euphemism,
coloring.
people.
That is, yeah.
No. Is
No.
this PG?
It was the documentary was PG despite its horrifying content.
And the coloring, it was like orange, and then we're in yellow, and then I was like,
Also, just from the technical aspect of like interviewing people, the lighting was not good. They all kind of looked like greenish in the face, and again, we're talking about an indie budget here, so I totally understand where there are like limitations and things like that. But they also like backlit people. It's just like turn them around. There's a big window right there. Just turn them around, right?
Yeah.
You can make that look way better. So that was one thing.
I almost feel like they could have, even if those things were all bad, if the fundamentals were good, it could have been a decent documentary. Like on
Totally.
paper, I expected to love it. It was very moody. The vibe reminded me a bit of The Lighthouse, which I loved, just like taking in. It was a story about paranormal stuff in a small town. It reminded me a bit of Goosebumps as well, kind of like the vibe they were going for aesthetically. And I do want to do a good horror documentary at some point. But like the story itself, I felt like there was nothing there. It was mediocre execution of like a terrible idea in the first place.
No, that was my thought. Is like, I haven't read the book, so I don't know much about the story, and I'm sure it's probably great. But this movie made me feel like it was the most shoddily written, poorly put together story where shit just happens for no reason.
Yeah.
And there's no cohesion. Like, I think probably the biggest problem with this, it doesn't even have to do with technical expertise in production. It was genuinely like, how do we put this story together? But I think the chapters weren't to be dramatic. I think they genuinely didn't know how to make each section cohesive, so they just made them chapters and then put them in random order.
Yeah.
Like, I kept going like, oh my god, like simultaneously this is the longest documentary I've ever watched, and it's also going at a breakneck pace, but I don't know what's happening or why. And there's like no credibility, there's no like, it just shit happens and I don't know why or for what reason, and then it happens and it's gone, and then we move on to the next thing for no reason. It was
And I think there's some merit if like we're showing, people are telling stories. I think there is this element in folklore when we're in a documentary setting, like person A tells their story or what they know, person B tells it, person C, and maybe we get to the end and they're like, we don't really know what happened, but these are all the different accounts that we have, and blah blah blah. And there's a way to organize it that like doesn't say anything finally. It reminds me of, I feel like you might have seen this, Grant, because you also are interested in true crime, but it reminds me of the Son of Sam documentary when like they were talking about the Son of Sam, and then midway through they were like, we actually think that this has to do with the devil. And I was like, what? Huh? I don't know I forget if it was like the devil, but it was just oh no, they were like, it has to do with a cult. The Son of Sam was part of a cult and all this stuff. And
I
it was
love
like,
that documentary personally.
I mean, I thought it was well done, but it also is like, where did that come from? Are we like fully reaching the end of our through line? I think that's it. Is like the through line in this is entirely not clear. It's like this, and then it goes back, and then it's like, whoa, and then it's like this other person shows up, and you're like,
yeah, what voice are we listening to? Because I keep hearing I'm listening to this story. I'm like, it's being told to me like it's fact, but the person that's talking to us is a folklorist, so it's not like they're someone who thinks this is real. They just believe that this is folklore. What perspective are we learning this information from? Because I kept checking out because it kept being like, okay, some stupid fucking ghost story again. I don't feel like this is credible at all.
Yeah.
So if the perspective was instead, this is a folklore and we want to investigate where it came from and like what are the stories and that kind of thing, that's a much more interesting perspective than just going, this is what happened and we have no evidence.
What's your source? I made it up.
like, I remember her touching the girl's hair, and I remember the wig,
The
and
main
that's
thing
kind
it
of
did
it.
was killing John Bell.
Yeah, with poison, right?
Well, so
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Apparently.
There is
Apparently.
like, in terms of like perspective, it feels as though we've missed all of the potentially like good things to follow, and it was more just like of information that then was also occasionally dropped in interview of an historian or a local expert, or this folklorist, because John, this is the only like recorded instance of folklore where a spirit literally does something to physically kill somebody, right? The witch poisoned him and they found the poison, right? It wasn't like he got possessed and then he needed to be killed, or he got possessed and then like killed himself, or the ghost frightened him to death, or like something. It was no, the witch literally gave him poison. Like that's like, why? You know, like that's interesting, right? Go down that rabbit hole. Also, a quick thing is that, you know, I think that the whole story fundamentally comes from this source text that is like really not credible, like really not credible at all.
They didn't talk about the author at all.
No, I was looking into it, and most of the direct account is from a supposed diary of John Bell Jr., the kid. And according to Brian Dunning, who is an American writer and producer who focuses on science and skepticism, no one has ever seen this supposed diary, and there's no evidence that it ever existed. Conveniently, every person with firsthand knowledge of the Bell Witch hauntings was already dead when Ingram started the book. In fact, every person with secondhand knowledge was even dead. Dunning also concluded that Ingram was guilty of falsifying another statement, and that the Saturday Evening Post had published a story in 1849 accusing the Bell's daughter Elizabeth of creating the witch, an article which was not found at the time. So this whole story stems from somebody being like, you just got to trust me. I have a diary. Where is it? Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it feels like
I
the
forgot.
1600s. I forgot. It's not a lot of money. It feels like the 1600s when everybody was like, I can't explain this thing, so it's a witch.
Yeah.
Trust me, bro.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Trust me, bro.
And also, when you're making a documentary from a source material that is really not cohesive or is in itself like not credible and doesn't really have, because if the documentary feels this way, it's because the source text kind of sounds like it too. You know, they were literally talking with the source text over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why, after watching this documentary, compared to the other ones, I feel like I haven't learned anything new about the world. It's the first time. All the other ones, I either felt like I learned something about Japan, or about culture, or about corporate, you know, politics, or about something. With this one, I was just like, there was no expert perspective, like Grant said, that could show you like, oh, this text had this, and we interpret it to mean this based on this other thing. I just didn't feel like I learned anything. And I think that is why it's so weak.
Yeah. And I mean, like, history was glossed over too. I mean, like, the aspect of this family owning slaves was just kind of like, there it is, and there it's gone. And they had somebody in to talk about it really briefly, and then it was just like, I mean, half the other time it was talking about like, well, they were very like respected in the community and like upstanding citizens. And it's just like, okay, we get it. You don't need like we don't need to make the argument that they're good people to also feel for them if they're being literally haunted. In fact, there's something more there, because I was also doing some research. Joel Chandler Harris is a journalist. Said that Ingram's work was actually an expression of the psychological shame of slavery and Native American removal. The slaves in the account were regarded as experts on the witch, right? Uncle Zeke identifying the witch as an Indian spirit and everything like that. The future of progress, General Andrew Jackson, was brought to heel by this witch. You know, like,
My favorite thing.
it's
Sorry
all
to
about
interrupt.
like but it's like underscored by the displaced black people and widows and girls. They are like these witnesses, and there's one man who's getting killed, you know, and that's the master, like the literal master. And that's just completely, that's not even talked about in the doc. Like all of that undertow of like women getting married off, that was just something that was happening with the witch, right? The aspect of the slaves, that was just something that was happening with the witch. Huge missed opportunity, and frankly, kind of an injustice that they didn't look into it. Katie.
Two things. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just me. When you said Andrew Jackson, my favorite part of the fucking like comments that I saw was like, if Andrew Jackson was like, I need to get the out of here, we know something's wrong, because Andrew Jackson is a crazy motherfucker. Was a crazy motherfucker. One. Two, I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like at the end of the documentary, wasn't there a part where like one of Belle's sons had like 3 kids with one of their slaves, and then it was like he claimed the woman as his wife and then he didn't. It was really weird.
I honestly
I don't recall this.
I don't remember it. Oh, I don't remember most of the documentary, so
Me
you
too.
could be
I
right.
just watched it today, and I don't remember most
Yeah.
of it.
Oh
We watched
my
it yesterday.
God. The last thing that I want to say before we kind of go into our tangents.
No, not yesterday, 2 days ago.
2 days ago. I think that two things. My
So many
favorite
things.
I know, my favorite part of it. Let's all say our favorite part of the documentary. My favorite part of the documentary was the scrolling list of Kickstarter backers at the end. Mo, would you pull that up for me, please?
It was like 10 minutes long.
This sent me. This is what did it. Like the first time, it was just like names, and then just an email address.
You know, some poor soul was copying it over. We might not want to share it because that's someone's email address.
Oh, well, I mean, like it's kind of
blur
publicly
it out.
available.
Well, we can blur it out.
We'll
yeah.
blur it out in post.
But it was like 10 minutes, and you know that some poor person working on it had to copy over every single name in that Kickstarter.
This was by far, again, my favorite part personally.
Half of these dudes have like the craziest nicknames. I'm like, who are your friends? The Overlord of Evil? Beans?
Clan McClure, Newton
Larry
Morgan.
Beans Baxter.
Clan
Just an
McClure.
email. Just a fucking email.
Robtillion
And
Horror?
just an email. Dark Arts.
Like how many?
It's amazing. John at Supersaurus Rex E.
Isn't there always like one person who has a strange nickname that has nothing to do with their name? With this, it's like 10.
Oh my God. It's incredible. There's just, it keeps going. Another email. Otis, Furfur, Oni. Just like, oh my God, Andrew, glue Samson.
I love Matt.
In memory
Matt.
of Beezy. Yo, pour one out for Beezy.
How did they get so many people to back this?
It's a lot of people. Do you want to know what the budget of this was?
What was it?
$20,000.
Oh my God.
I don't understand why
You
they
know where
couldn't
it
have
all
done
went?
this.
You want to know where it all went?
That wig.
No. My favorite part. And this is
Sean, the
genuine.
fork chop forker.
Walter Ray Coleman.
Sorry, hold on,
Another
Grant.
email.
Hold on. We got to get through the Kickstarters, the Kickstarter backers. Kickstarter backers.
Get back our backers.
Jern Ernchois. What the Oh my God.
They could have done this in like 3 columns, you know?
Honestly,
they had to
and-
do it in 1 column.
To our audio listeners, who, if you are listening through audio and you're just like, they're just shouting things, maybe you should come look at the video because, oh my God.
Because they're essentially doing that, but on a black screen.
Yes.
Boognish.
Boognish
Ian
Roger.
Boognish Roger. And Jeffrey
And
Thomas.
Jeffrey, I love how and Jeffrey R. Thomas gets his
He's
own little.
really important.
At the
He
very
probably
end.
donated like $500.
He donated $19,990, and then everybody else donated like 1 cent each.
They were like, if you donate $500, we will space down from our very long list of credits, and you will have a line with the space on top of it so you can stand out amongst all these names.
Yes.
Because, you know, they offer people gifts when you, like, donate things. It's like, for $500, you can meet the writer and you can have, like, 3 cookies and thank you. And, like, for this, it's like, you can space down. Your name will be spaced down and you'll be the last name. So everybody
one
remembers your
indent.
name.
If you donate $1,000 to this Kickstarter, you get the mark of the Bell Witch, which is just a butterfly tramp stamp.
We'll go into the cave and get you a rock.
So that's my third thing. What was the mark of the Bell Witch? The title of the documentary is The Mark of the Bell Witch.
I
What
think it's
is-
the impact that she has.
Then that wasn't
on this-
clear.
Wasn't
Yeah.
communicated at all.
The mark of the Bell Witch is a pack of Marlboro Reds and a butterfly tramp stamp. That's what the mark of the Bell Witch is.
Yeah.
Better stay away from that girl, Kate.
It's me.
She's got the mark of the Bell Witch on her.
Is the mark of the Bell Witch syphilis?
The world may never know.
See, that's interesting because, you know, John Bell Sr. started to have like convulsions and things like that. And then he grew ill. So maybe the mark of the Bell Witch is some awful disease like syphilis.
Yeah, it's 1820s. There's lots of things we didn't know yet.
Like that eagles were a thing.
Yeah, that big birds can exist. Or maybe it's just that they didn't wash their hands, you know?
Womp womp.
Oh, Grant, were you going to say something about like the $20,000?
Yes. So like my favorite part, and this is genuine, I actually did like this part, is the title animation. Whatever agency that they spent that $20,000 on killed it because it looked really great because everything else suffered for it. I don't know if you guys remember how good it looked, but genuinely, like, it felt like a professional worked on it.
Oh, yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
I don't remember.
I'll try and find
Throw
it.
it
Give me a
up.
sec.
It's at
very
the start.
good. It's very
like,
good.
Yeah.
It feels like that's where all the money went, and it feels like they contracted somebody to do it.
Yeah.
Like this
that
year
is,
was excellent.
Oh,
that is like
cool.
the thing that is like, yeah.
$20,000.
20,000
Yeah.
K. That's what,
Yeah.
20,000 K. 20K.
That
20
font is
bands.
cool.
Yeah, that animation was really cool.
Yeah.
It was the only cool part.
Really sick.
Yeah.
But my other favorite part was when they were talking about when John Bell finally died. It's like, and apparently she was at his funeral and they could hear her in the trees whistling and cussing. And like, I love that a sign of somebody being evil, you know, or like spooky witch spirit, like a demon is just cussing. You know, so I'm just imagining her. It's like she's in the trees going, ass, shit. You know, like
It's like a little kid trying to like
wiener,
Have you guys?
wiener.
It's like, you know, those videos where people are like, they bring their kid in and they look at the mirror and they're like, you can say all the bad words you want in 5 minutes, and then at 5 minutes you need to stop, and you just see them and they're like staring at the mirror and they go, stupid, jerk, but.
I have a very
Literally that.
similar favorite moment, and it's when they're talking about the two-headed dog, and they're saying that it like it's like something.
Cussing.
Yeah, it was something like that. I'll pull up the clip for you guys.
He said
But-
some not so nice things.
Yeah, it literally said something like that. Here we go.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And the same dog reappeared to him, this time with two heads. And it allegedly said a bunch of ugly things to Dean and
Wiener, ass.
He had to hightail it out of there. He
You're saying too many
allegedly.
ugly things.
They just have the dog
Oh
bark.
my God,
It's
I just
hilarious
unplugged
for
my
so many
headphones. I
reasons
leaned
because
back
it's
to
like,
the
first of all, there's a dog with two heads, and then it allegedly said ugly things to
Yeah.
Dean. So not even like for sure, it's allegedly.
Not even
My favorite
confirmed.
part about all of this is that every time they'd bring up something, they'd be like, they said some shit. We didn't know what they said, but they said some shit. Like, there was one part where they were like, they had this really long conversation about the past, present, and the future. We don't know what the fuck they said, but they talked about it probably. I don't know.
She completely said one of the sermons, you know, whatever he was
They
talking
fought
about that day.
scripture or whatever.
And she would quote the Bible right back at him and said a verse or two. That's so fun. So I'm going to jump into, before I do, I don't really have a tangent today. I kind of was just like very disappointed by the documentary. I'll be completely honest. And Mo, I think you really put a nail. You hit the nail on the head. Excuse me. I can't. My euphemisms.
Put a nail on my
No, it's not even a
head.
euphemism. I need to get my
nailed me.
idiom. Holy crap!
No cussing.
And I speak English natively, and I can't
You're
even
saying
get
some
my.
ugly things, man.
Jesus Christ!
Allegedly.
I need to get my idioms in check. Mo, you hit the nail on
You
the
cussed,
head.
idiot.
You
You said
cussed.
idiots.
But you hit the nail on the head when you said that we didn't learn anything, not really, from this documentary. So my only tangent is like this documentary showed me, or put on display rather, how people often mistake what something scary is, or like how to make something scary. They don't know how to make something scary because it's like, well, how do we make something scary? Right? Well, zoom in really quickly and like shake the camera and like, oh, we have a drawing, like put red eyes on the dog or like whatever. And that's not what makes something scary. Like if you want a masterclass in like super scary, I would recommend watching like The Babadook or Hereditary or, you know, a lot of modern horror movies really hit the nail on the head. Again, there we go, 2 times. With what makes something scary, because it's just this internal dread that we all have as people. And they didn't do that. They just was like, make the dog have 2 heads and make it swear. Like it's
Interesting
not
point.
creepy.
Yeah, this did feel like a horror movie from like the 90s.
yeah.
Yeah.
It felt
Also,
like a made-for-TV horror movie
Yeah.
on the History Channel.
It felt like something you made when YouTube was first started, and you're like, let's make a video with my friends. And you don't care that like you can see the little fishing line. I have to say my favorite part of the documentary was that when Chris first suggested it, I saw the cover art, and judging the book by its cover, I was like, this is probably bad because this cover art sucks dick. And I was right.
So, which cover art did you see? Because
The
the one
green
that I
one.
saw. Let me see here.
It just looks very weird. It's not very impressive.
This is what I saw, and I didn't watch
Hmm.
the trailer, and that was a
Oh, yeah.
mistake. But just looking at this poster, do you see how I'm like? It does look a little bit rough, but honestly, there is like the
Yeah.
font is kind of cool.
It looks
and,
cool, yeah.
Like honestly, yeah,
It's
okay,
not that.
I could fuck with it. 6 stars, 6 out of 10. And then like the historical drawing here, I should have clicked on this to actually play it and seen how bad it was, but I did.
Yeah.
You live, you learn.
I'll show you the one I saw. Oh, it was this one.
oh
this,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, that doesn't look great. Like the green color of the green. I was like, don't love this. So yeah, I was right. And of course, honorable mention to that fucking wig. I really want to know where they got it because it looked like they were like, do we have a gray wig? Fuck, we didn't get a gray wig. We got to order one off of Amazon. Fuck, it's COVID. Fuck, we'll figure it out. And it was like the fucking, oh my God. I will never forget that.
Oh my god.
He could have sprayed his hair. It was in black and white. There's so much you can do.
Katie is scandalized by that wig.
It
This
just
is
made a bad thing worse
Oh my God.
to me.
What are you finding, Mo?
This is interesting. Okay, so check this out. I didn't know this, but I looked
Sorry,
them up on
audio
YouTube.
listeners. You just gotta watch. I'm sorry. I
Come
don't know
on.
what
This
to
is a
do.
very
With it.
visual episode.
They apparently have a successful YouTube channel.
Yeah, dude. No, I did some research.
Jesus
They have
Christ.
a big following. They've actually got a
Yeah.
very decent sized following.
They have a
So-
premiere going on right now.
So
Should we
honestly-
go?
Oh my, no.
Honestly, they probably they're gonna come after us. They're gonna send their cronies after us, and we're gonna get dislike bombed by them for
You know what?
posting this.
If people enjoy this,
Engagement is engagement, baby.
yeah, like,
you
if people enjoy their content and are super fans, more power to them
Yeah,
because they've
that's totally
created
cool.
a lot of shit. I think we're just saying objectively, we thought it was poorly done, and I think that's okay.
Yeah,
and if they
again-
come at us, fine.
I said at the start, and I maintain it, we are not here to personally attack
No.
the filmmakers. And I mean personally, like, we can critique your work, but we're not going to personally attack anybody.
No.
The actors in it, the people who were interviewed, nobody. It's not a personal attack. We're just simply talking about the production side of things.
And the wig.
The art itself and the wig. which
And
is
just
part of the
this
art.
specific documentary. This we don't know
Yes.
about the other
We
stuff.
haven't watched
Yeah.
any of the other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we should also say that it was during COVID that it was released. So many things could have been impacted, maybe tighter deadlines. You never know. Shit could have gone down. I mean, you saw, I forgot, I didn't know if I didn't see or I forgot when it was taking place, but I saw the distance between them at the church and I'm like, this feels like it's during COVID, but I can't really tell. And they're not wearing masks, so I'm not sure.
Well, it was Tennessee. So,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And maybe by publishing on YouTube after that, like they got feedback and they improved their work a ton. I'm sure their recent stuff's like great. Otherwise, like why would it get that many views on YouTube?
They generate a lot of content.
Yeah,
I think he's releasing like 2 things this year.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
shit.
It's more than I've ever done. So
That's full length. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, that's how long this one was.
So do we want to go into tangents?
I want to share 2 more quick moments that I liked. So one is this part here where they say there are many intercultural stories about dogs being hurt and then like keep on living, which is such a nothing burger of a story that I'm surprised that this would be meaningful enough to make it in the documentary. Here we go.
Several of the Bell Witch tropes are tropes that show up in other varieties of legends, even witch legends. So there's many narratives in the South of dogs that get injured but keep on living.
Also, this isn't really a personal attack, but it would really stress me out when he would say like things he was talking about seriously, like something very violent happening, and he was like blah 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 blah. He was always smiling.
He was always smiling. I think
was
it's
like-
because well, he's looking at it from the perspective of like a folklore person. He's like, and this is really exciting because you see this in folklore all the time where this happens, you know?
Yeah, and he
but
has
it's like-
very nice teeth. He has a great smile, but it was like very jarring to like have him constantly smile when
If
he's
you
telling
have
us
ever
these things.
had a pet get hurt and they kept on living, which?
Which?
That's so funny. It was actually witchcraft. So
A witch
fun
spared
fact.
them
pray to Hecate and burn some incense
and run around naked in the forest.
I would love. See, this is the thing. This is why I love witchcraft because yeah, running around naked in a forest, like eating mushrooms and just like chilling out. That sounds great. You
Chris
know?
about to get arrested after this.
What do you mean?
There's
No,
no
there's-
forests in New York, and he's gonna be like, "Woo!"
In New York City, there aren't any forests.
I know,
There are
not
plenty of forests
not in the
New
state
York.
of New York. That's not what I meant. In New York City, where we live.
All right, one more moment. And this one is kind of related to what Chris was saying earlier about this witch doing like actual physical things. Here we go.
It looks like from the book that she's being slapped around by the spirit, whatever it is. And I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if a spirit can slap you, but evidently they think it could.
So
I don't know if a spirit could slap you, but evidently they think it could.
exactly, like the
So
vibe this
good.
guy gives me is spirits are definitely real, but I don't know if they can slap you. Like that's crossing a line even for him. He's like, I'm crazy, but I'm not some wacko. I know spirits can't slap you.
I mean, let's think about this though. Is like just to like play
Hold on.
devil's advocate. What?
I have to show. So there was a horror movie that came out in 2005 that is directly based on the haunting of the Bell Witch called An American Haunting. And I have to play this clip because it's talking about, they were just like, I have a girl getting slapped around. I don't know about that. But there's this clip in the trailer where Elizabeth Bell is being dragged across the floor and then lifted up. But then I'll let the clip speak for
It's so
itself.
funny.
It's so ridiculous.
As you get that pulled up, I think here's the justification I have is I think like it would be surprising to make contact with like a ghost's or a witch's hand where like they could pull your hair, they could pull you out of bed, maybe like there'd be like kind of little things happening, but like to get physically slapped and have like physical contact on your face, I feel like that's what they're saying is like, yeah, pulling hair, yeah, like something gets moved, yeah, like something appears, like blah blah blah, things like that can happen with ghosts or witches, but like having one slap you in the face, then it becomes much more like a tangible person.
Yeah.
And then I
That's
think
fair.
that's when people are like, oh, like, yeah, I don't think the witch would be slapping him because this is a ghost. Like,
Yeah,
if the
can a
ghost is
ghost
pulling the
really
hair, it can pull
Get
my
the
hair.
ghost backhand. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's Donald Sutherland. Love
We
this
got it.
man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so Donald Sutherland was in this movie, but let's just let this clip play.
A better wig.
Yeah, it's literally like the old 1-2. Oh my god, so funny.
So
yeah, the
creepy.
idea of like waking up in the middle of the night to somebody just being like, you know, like get it, stop. Just
Yeah.
oh my god.
It's so weird. It just feels like a boxing match. Like it's just like pow pow pow. You know, it's just like smack smack smack.
That sound effect is amazing.
The smacking sound effect was crazy.
But that's what I'm thinking is I think they like can justify that the ghost is like making noises and doing little things, but the slapping becomes like, okay, do you see something then? Do you feel a hand? What does the hand feel like?
Yeah.
Like
right.
I do kind of see what he's saying. Like
There are rules in Ghost Town.
yeah,
Yes.
kind of. I don't know, like a ghost slapping someone that I would be like, oh,
There are
That's kinda weird.
expectations on how a ghost should behave.
yeah, yeah. At Ghost
Always
Academy,
play with their hair, but
Ghost
never
etiquette.
slap them.
no cussing.
No, and certainly no. Actually, cuss away. Ghosts cuss all the time, right? In The Exorcist, you know, when the girl is possessed by the demon, you know, she's saying some crazy stuff. I don't even want to repeat it. It's so crazy.
Poop.
She was like, poop, poopy, poop, 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 fart, balls. Anyway. I feel like, so Mo, you said you had 2 things. I don't know if we hit both
We
of the things.
did.
Yeah, we got both.
Okay.
We're good.
So I think we should go into tangents. Katie, do you have a tangent that you want to
Yeah, I'm ripping and roaring, bitches. I got lots of notes on this. Okay.
Here we go.
So there was a point that we said something before, and I was like, ooh, that'd be a really great segue into my tangent, but here we are. It's fine. So I looked up, because I'm a big fan of this singer, if you guys have heard of her, Ethel Cain. She is like a singer-songwriter, but she writes very indie, gothic, alternative folk rock. She's from the South. Like, she's from Florida. She lives in Alabama. And she produced this entire album that is basically like, it's a character that is not her, but she goes by that artist name. So Ethel Cain is this character that is in this album. And it's the story of how she was leaving her house because she felt repressed, and it was like this religious thing, and then she fell into the hands of this abuser and ended up getting killed and cannibalized by him. And that's the story of the album. So like every song like tells the whole story. So I looked up Southern Gothic because I always thought of her as someone who was very Southern Gothic. I read Flannery O'Connor and Faulkner growing up in English class, and I was like, okay, so when did this period start? Is the Bell Witch sort of like a byproduct of the Southern Gothic theme, sort of like how we see in the South after Reconstruction? A lot of things happen that like people are like, and that is like the post-antebellum South, or like, is antebellum mean? I forget if antebellum means like before war. But anyway, there's a lot of great different research I found, and it says that Southern Gothic, quote, focuses on the South's history of slavery, racism, fear of the outside world, violence, a fixation with the grotesque, and a tension between realistic and supernatural elements. It often focuses on mentally ill characters engaging with or confronting social taboos. Southern Gothic works focus on the grotesque, meaning that they intentionally focus on objects, people, or situations that are uncomfortable, abnormal, and sometimes even monstrous. The mode or genre Southern Gothic is prevalent in literature from the early 19th century, so kind of where we're talking about, to this day. Characteristics of Southern Gothic include the presence of irrational, horrific, and transgressive thoughts, desires, and impulses, grotesque characters, dark humor, and an overall angst-ridden sense of alienation, like the daughter felt, I think. And, quote, it brings to light the extent to which the idyllic vision of the pastoral agrarian South rests on massive repressions of the region's historical realities, slavery, racism, and patriarchy. Mm-hmm. And the 2 ties that I found was like the woman is haunting the young woman, could be a warning for her living in the area, creating a family there, establishing themselves. She's haunting this girl because as a woman, of course, patriarchy prevails, and she's like, maybe this is sort of the girl's fear of all these things that she knows. Her father's a slave owner. They're in this new sort of like uncharted, which we know obviously not uncharted territory. It's taken over by Native Americans. And for the woman poisoning the father, he's a wealthy slave owner. He's trying to stop it at its source. So Southern Gothic also marks a Freudian return of the repressed. The region's historical realities take concrete forms in the shape of ghosts that highlight all that has been unsaid in the official version of Southern history. So these really prominent writers are Edgar Allan Poe. I never really considered him Southern Gothic, but I saw that somewhere. Faulkner and Flannery O'Connor. And it made me think of something that is in the Southern Gothic sort of realm that also kind of shat the bed, and that is The Fall of the House of Usher. If you guys saw it, Chris and I saw the whole series, and it was a bit
bad,
messy.
We can say it. So The Fall of the House of Usher was a series on Netflix that is from the same kind of team, writer director that gave us The Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor, and also cool. Midnight Mass, which I've actually heard is like really good. I enjoyed The Haunting of Hill House, and I've heard that Midnight Mass is really good. The Haunting of Bly Manor was kind of a dud. And then we have this one, The Fall of the House of Usher, major. major.
It's based on a short story and kind of a combination of short stories of Edgar Allan Poe and all these things happening to this really wealthy, prominent family. We don't have to get into it, but it reminded me of like, okay, we saw something that was in the Southern Gothic realm and it didn't do so well for us. At least we didn't enjoy it. Same with The Fall of the House of Usher for me and Chris. So then let's enter into Ethel Cain. I sort of touched on her a little bit. Her stage name is Ethel Cain, and her real name is...
Are you related?
No. She's Cain, so like Cain and Abel. Well, I am Kane.
Okay.
Her real name is Hayden Silas Anhedonia. She is an American singer-songwriter, record producer, and a model. She was raised Southern Baptist in Florida. Her music style is indie gothic alternative folk rock. She grew up in the Florida Panhandle, and she came out as gay and then trans at age 20. So she transitioned at 20. She's my age, so she's 26. Right now she lives in Alabama, which is really sort of interesting because she's really seeing a rise in her career and playing these big festivals. So she's not living in LA or New York. And she also previously lived in Indiana in an abandoned 19th century church. So the album in question that I was talking about is called Preacher's Daughter. It was released May 12, 2022, and it's a concept album centered around the character of Ethel Cain. It explores the American dream, abuse, and religious trauma. It centers on this girl who is a teenage girl who flees her deeply Christian family and conventional life and falls into the hands of an abusive lover who ultimately cannibalizes her. Her last name likely references the biblical story of Cain and Abel, where Cain killed his brother Abel after his offering to God was rejected and Abel's was accepted. He received the curse of Cain, which has a lot of different interpretations, but Genesis, the book of Genesis in the Bible, describes it in two parts. One, the ground was cursed by Abel's spilt blood, so Cain could never farm on it, and the second part marks him as a fugitive or wanderer, similar to Ethel Cain. The bubble, which is an article, perceives Cain taking on this last name as her being cursed because she abandoned her family and religion and wandered from Alabama to California, east to west. The bubble says that the album draws on Southern Gothic themes, like we talked about, like violence, absurdity, decay, oppression, and melodrama. So if we're tying back to The Bell Witch, the track American Teenager, which was sort of the hit track on this album, it distinctly is different from the rest of the album. It's very poppy. If you listen to that, you're sort of like, is this the same artist that I'm listening to? Well, the rest of the album is very sort of like moody and like heavy and really dark. And it talks about the conventional life of an American teenager, but it's riddled with these little dark images that you can miss really easily that are byproducts of the so-called American dream. So sort of like Southern Gothic. Quote, one of the lyrics is, "The neighbor's brother came home in a box, but he wanted to go, so maybe it was his fault." Talking about the military industrial complex and how this young man decided to go to the military because the military is glorified in the US, but did he really decide? We don't really know. So from NPR, I know, sorry, this is really long. Thanks for sticking with me. This article from NPR says, quote, "You can picture her," as in Ethel Cain, "in rural Indiana, haloed in dusty sunbeams and dressed like Laura Ingalls Wilder with stick and pokes, writing long and crushing ballads that feel, to borrow the words of writer Flannery O'Connor, Christ-haunted." NPR also talks about their song, A House in Nebraska, saying, "The screenplay practically writes itself. The brutal mortality of a Southern Gothic novel meets the seductive nihilism of Spring Breakers." If you guys have ever seen that crazy fucking movie. Mm-hmm. I wonder whether Anhedonia, a gorgeous name for the inability to feel pleasure, so it might not have been her given name. I think she might have taken on that last name. Has read O'Connor's story, A Good Man is Hard to Find, in which an escaped convict known as the Misfit concludes, after murdering a devout Christian family, it's no real pleasure in life. So then NPR talks about another song, which is very haunting and also reminded me of The Bell Witch, where if you listen to it, you have to be prepared because Ethel literally screams on it. There's this like really jarring, unsettling scream. Kind of like when people talk about like, oh, I found a family member murdered or something. And it was like the most blood-curdling scream I ever heard. So the song is called Ptolemea, and, quote, "It is punctuated by shrieks of mortal terror and the buzz of flies. Cain's petrified voice interspersed with that of the devil or someone like him." The lyrics You poor thing, sweet morning lamb, there's nothing you can do. It's already been done. The haunting pair of instrumental tracks that follow are the sound of the end of Cain's life. So, her character's life. If there's truth to O'Connor's theory that every great story is marked by a moment where grace waits to be accepted or rejected, this is it. What difference it makes, what grace one is allowed, is another issue entirely. Is it true, as the crucifix suggests, that redemption is accessed through agony? So, interestingly enough, is the Bell Witch family going through all this agony as a way to redeem themselves? We see whatever her name was, the young girl, screaming, like really sort of screaming, having these fits. So it reminded me of that. And my last point, which I think was really funny sentiment, when Ethel Cain, the artist, was interviewed by W Magazine, when asked why she was wearing a shirt with an American flag and has one hanging in her house when she's definitely not a patriot, she says, "I've always been very much about keep your friends close and your enemies closer." So that's my tangent.
I want to jump.
Questions?
I want to jump on it really quickly because it made me think about what I can now kind of get the essence of what this documentary missed for me. Is I think often about America's history, its inception, and everything that's been going on inside of it recently. And there's this question I always ask: is like, can we ever really escape our history? You know, we have stolen land, we have enslaved people, we have committed one of the first instances of biological warfare when we gave smallpox blankets to the Native Americans. And that history is just inside of us. It's you know what I mean? Like, even if it's not directly felt by us by watching something about it or reading something about it, it's all around us all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel that a lot of American media and American pastimes and American this and American that is to kind of ignore, say, no, whatever, on to the next thing. And also, how do we capitalize on top of it? Like, this is what this documentary really missed the mark on, because you could talk about all of these things, right? You can hit this, like, how do you miss American Gothic folklore and that whole idea inside of a documentary about one of the most famous hauntings of American history?
Yeah.
And how it's become kind of like, has everybody here seen Gravity Falls? You know what I'm talking about with Gravity Falls?
Oh God, it's been a while, but
It's an animated show on Disney where these two kids go to their Grunkle Stan's house in a fictional town called Gravity Falls, and he's got this place called like the Wonder Shack or the Shack or whatever. It's a tourist trap where it's like, oh, you go and like the gravity's different, and there are like Sasquatch in the woods and like all these strange occurrences, but it's not true. It's just Grunkle Stan, setting these things up, putting up this narrative. It's not true, but he's capitalizing on people's like hopes of seeing something. And then over the course of the show, you realize he's actually been telling the truth, or he unknowingly told the truth, or I think he did, but strange things were actually happening, and there were Sasquatch in the woods and fairies and things like that. But it just sits with me like this: the Bell Witch, instead of becoming like a dissection. Why did I say it like that? A dissection of our American history and this past of owning people as property and restricting their. Because that's the thing, is the story is about when he encounters that dog. It's because the slave is walking from one property to another to visit his wife, who's owned by another person on a separate farm. That's
sold for $400.
crazy. And that's glossed over as just like a part, you know what I mean? Like that whole aspect of the story is glossed over. And what is it actually about? Well, it's about the town of Adams now revolving around this story. Why? So that tourists can come and go to the Bell Witch Cave and get a rock and leave. And you know what I mean? Take a picture
100%.
on the property. It just feels like so empty. You had all of this rich history and you just,
I have to say, I feel like I really sort of like wrung the towel to try to get this out of the documentary. Like I'm really kind of focusing on her screaming and freaking out, but I agree with you. I totally agree with you. They really should have focused on it more. But I think something, and it feels like when we talk about hundreds or thousands of years ago, when people really tried to explain things and would talk about gods and myths, Greek myths, all of that, how they were making up stories to try to justify what they were seeing. And I think in this situation, they're making up stories in order to justify the fears they're feeling or the anxieties they're having.
The guilt.
Yeah, I think that I have this sort of theory that I think this witch comes from the sort of guilt and anxiety that they are on new territory, basically. Well, new to
them.
the settlers.
Yeah.
And they have slaves. We're 40 years before the Civil War, and I think there's fear there. I think there's anxiety, and I think they're trying to make up something so they don't have to take the blame. They don't have to confront that.
Yeah. And also, just to point out too, per what I was doing, what I found in my research, is that this family didn't necessarily even give these accounts. This whole thing was told from the perspective of Van Buren.
Yeah. And they were all dead.
And they were all dead. And he just claimed that he had gotten the content from the journal of the son of John Bell Sr. That journal was never found. And anybody who could corroborate these details was long dead. And so there's that aspect too, where this might not even be, I think it's more reflective of the feelings of the time in which this book actually came out, which was in the 40s, as we were approaching even closer to the Civil War. And discussions of, hey, maybe we shouldn't own people's property. Those were always happening to a certain degree, but like getting much more prevalent in American culture. We were getting closer and closer to that. And the result of owning people and colonizing the South and anything that happened in that time being represented by this story and by the fear and the guilt and the anxieties of the time.
I like that take. It reminds me of how Godzilla was written after the bombs were dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and it represented like the fears and anxieties that the Japanese people had around nuclear warfare.
Yeah. I mean, think about like the Dust Bowl, like all the literature that came out of like the Great Depression. It was like very sort of depressing. I mean, like people really sort of, the art that comes out at different times really adapts to what's happening in the world. I mean, as we've seen time and time and time again, people are reacting to what's going on. They're changing form, they're changing content. It's all of this.
You know who should, because I was the one thing that I keep saying and that I feel is that this was such a missed opportunity and this story is such a missed opportunity. Somebody that should adapt this and like make it into a good real movie. And that person should be Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Jordan Peele taking this Southern Gothic story that happens on plantations, or at the very least on farms where people had slaves, that fundamentally revolves around that, and witchcraft in general, which witchcraft is not just in cultures of Native American and African and whatever. It's all over the world, but there's a huge opportunity there to tell a really interesting story and to, address these feelings of anxiety and white guilt and fear inside of these people that were slavers.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge missed opportunity. And I think that Jordan Peele can make an amazing movie out of it.
Yeah. I mean, Get Out has a lot of these sort of themes
yeah.
we're talking about. The plantation, it's very close to it. There's a movie coming out about Flannery O'Connor, and Ethan Hawke is directing it. His daughter, Maya Hawke, is playing her, and I'm really interested to see it. She died when she was 39, but she is someone who is one of the main figureheads of the Southern Gothic literature tradition. I mean, just confronting that. Oh, and there's an article in the New Yorker that says, "How racist was Flannery O'Connor?" Interesting. I'm not going to go through this, obviously, because we're recording, but I'll have to read that later. Because you almost feel like she's on the right side of history. Actually, the little meta title says, "She has become an icon of American letters. Now readers are reckoning with another side of her legacy." And that was in 2020, June 15th, 2020.
It's interesting too, because I was just about to say this documentary did come out and I mean, like, in terms of addressing police brutality in America, we did hit a fever pitch 2019, 2020. I mean, it's always been around, but the George Floyd uprising was huge, and it came out, that all happened in 2020. So, yeah, huge, again, missed I'm not even going to say opportunity, just like drop the ball, really, in this documentary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Mo, Grant, do you have tangents?
I just have questions. Grant, do you have a tangent?
Sort of. So you go ahead and ask your questions, and I can end.
All right. What's the difference between something that's bad and something that's so bad that it's good?
Ooh,
That's what I was feeling about for this movie, because like
Yeah, that's a
I was
great
watching this with my
question.
family, and I was just like, well, at least with this movie, I didn't feel like it was the fun bad for the most part. I felt like I was like, dear God, I want this to be over, kind of feeling. So that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I think so bad it's good is sort of cult status. Like maybe people weren't receptive to it at the time, and then people found value in it. I think Heathers was technically like a cult favorite. I thought Heathers was great, but like
The Room is a classic, right?
The Room, yeah, exactly. Like people are like, it's almost so bad that it kind of comes around the other way. But I think that mostly is focused on these sort of like cult classic, like coming back in another time. With this, I feel like it doesn't locate itself in the present, really. Like it doesn't really have much to say in terms of like present conversations. And I don't think like moving it into the future will do it any service. You know?
Yeah. There's one thing that like I've heard a lot in art when it comes to so bad it's good, is that like there is a bell curve of entertainment when it comes to games or movies. It doesn't matter. And that bell curve is it's really good, so it's entertaining, or it's really bad and it's entertaining. The worst a piece of art can be is boring. And that's when it becomes like, yeah, it's bad, but it's also just like, I didn't fucking like it. There wasn't anything like outrageous about it. It was just boring. And I feel like that's probably where it kind of sits.
That makes sense, because one of the things I've heard is that so bad it's good usually has some degree of intentionality behind it. Like they set out to create that, except in situations, I guess, where looking back, it's like so bad it's good, but at the time it was bad. But yeah, in your situation, it makes sense that it's easier to reach the part of the bell curve that's like absolutely on the other end if you're doing it intentionally, because you know what's good, so you know what to do, like do the exact opposite if you want to create something bad. I feel like the wig is one part that was so bad it's good.
I think, you know, the actor, like the recreation, specifically John Bell being like
Yes.
all the time, was like, gee, dude, oh my, at least like I think what it is, what we're talking about is you do something really consistent. You know, like at the very, like whatever you're doing, you've chosen one thing and you have an intention and you do that one thing, right? And you go gung-ho into it. And I think movies like Birdemic or Birdemic 2 or I don't know if they have a third one, but
Birdemic 5?
Yeah, right. Or The Room. Yeah, Birdemic 3 and 4, they didn't really, you know, they kind of lost the thread there. But you have these movies where it's like, at the very least, they have an intention and they know what they're trying to do and they really go for it, right? And that's what makes it so bad it's good, because then it's the execution on this really specific thing that is so bad that it's kind of funny to watch, right? With this, it's like, I don't even think they really, that's the problem, is that they just didn't know what they were trying to accomplish with it.
Yeah.
And as a result, everything suffered, you know?
Yeah.
If they just wanted to like remake, I mean, I honestly think it would have been a more enjoyable time if like I accidentally just like made us watch a movie that was a recreation of the Bell Witch. And it was just those actors the entire time. Like the guy with his undershirt being like, "You will respond to me when I speaketh to you," you know, or whatever he was saying, right? And then, you know,
Made
John
me
Bell
fucking
being like,
ill. He was like,
so that would have been a much more enjoyable experience, because then you're getting something out of it, which is a little bit of laughter, levity. But for this, it took itself too seriously and didn't even know what it was talking about, to the point where it's like, this is just, you know, just blah.
Yeah. I'm now more motivated to watch the mockumentaries that Grant talked about. The one's called Documentary Now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, down the line, we should definitely do maybe like 3 of those and then talk about it, because I think they're only like 20 minutes each or something.
I think it might be longer, but I think it might depend.
Okay, yeah, cool.
yeah.
But it would be fun to see what a documentary is like when they are not taking themselves seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I think it comes back around. There's almost like levity and excitement, and that can become something that's good.
Yeah. I think like I don't even know if a bad movie that's good has to be intentional, because I don't know if you've ever heard of Neil Breen. But he makes just some of the shittiest things. But that's kind of why you love him, is that he's like this auteur that thinks he's making this huge thing, but it's just kind of bad. And it doesn't really seem like he knows this.
Is that fun because of the context of the auteur, like knowing that he's behind it and that he always thinks like this? Or would it have been good even without knowing who this guy is?
I think it would have been good either way. It's like, because it's outrageous, it's stupid, it's poorly written, the performances are terrible, but it's in like a really genuinely funny way, because you can see that there was effort.
See, that's what I'm talking about, though, Grant, is like, you're saying that it's not intentional, but it is. This man has the intention, whatever his intention, like, this is where, like, I think that he has the intention of setting out to make, I'm just looking at his IMDb here. What is this? Fateful Findings. A computer scientist novelist reunites with his childhood friends, hacks into government databases, and faces the dire and fateful consequences of the mythical actions he obtained as a child. Like, yeah, that sounds all over the place, but he knows what's going on. That's what I'm saying.
Right,
is he knows.
He made it for a
Nobody
reason.
knew.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what the was going on with this documentary. They were like, well, what we could make it about folklore, but then maybe we should also make it about just like the history.
The history of our town and how it's affected our town and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
There was
exactly.
just no angle. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so I guess the difference is with Neil, he put out something, people liked it for the wrong reasons, and he was like, all right, even though people are engaging with this, and even though my thing is bad, I'm going to keep being myself and go in this direction, and then it just keeps on succeeding. Whereas this documentary, it's like they tried to be good, and they just like failed at it.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like they knew what they were doing.
Or
I
we're
get
too
what you mean.
ambitious.
Yeah.
Kind
Like,
of.
I know what you mean, Christian, like by intention. I meant like people aren't intentionally trying to be bad. It's they
Oh,
had
yeah,
a
no.
reason for what they were making.
Yeah, just like having a distinct idea as
Right.
opposed to like, I want it to be good or I want it to be bad. No, just do one thing. And that's what makes something so bad. It's funny is because you can tell it's very well intentioned, well thought out, but then the execution is just like not there for whatever reason. The budget's, it's like why people love low budget movies, right? Like a low budget movie is fun to watch because you see how they get creative with their
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I'm going to come back to that in my green room segment, because there's this horror game studio called Blumhouse that is only focusing on indie games. But I'll come back and play the trailer later.
Like a classic, cult classic is Rocky Horror. And
Yes,
that-
I was going to bring up Rocky Horror because
Yeah, it's, like,
it's
perfect.
nonsensical. It's all over the place. People, when you go to see a Rocky Horror screening, people are screeching at the silver screen. They're saying all these things, and you can get like a booklet of things to yell at certain points in time. It's great, right?
And it's an event. Like they
it's an
show
event.
it so people can show up and do it in front of the screen. Yeah. So Heather is also like flopped at the box office. Many reviewers found the film too dark and cynical, but many young audiences connected to Heather's darker themes, which has left its mark on teen media. So Jennifer's Body, very similar.
Yes, I was going to bring up Jennifer's Body as well.
It's a lot of things. The Big Lebowski, I saw that recently.
I've never seen.
They
The Big
put
Lebowski.
Donnie Darko on that list.
Oh, really?
Well, I think Donnie Darko probably didn't do terribly well. I mean, like, there's a difference between a cult classic and something being so bad it's good.
Yeah,
right?
very true.
The Room is a cult classic, and we can all objectively recognize that it's a so bad it's good movie. But Donnie Darko is also a cult classic, and that is a very good movie.
Yeah.
That just didn't do well at the box office and then got picked up.
Well,
as a result,
I can explain why it didn't do well. Donnie Darko premiered and was nominated for Best Film at the 2001 Sundance Film Festival. However, the theatrical release in October of that year was complicated by the September 11 attacks. Most of the film's advertising was canceled because it prominently featured a plane crash. The movie thus opened to a poor box office but gained an audience after reissues. Yeah,
Poor
so
timing.
lots of things can play into it. Josie and the Pussycats.
Mo, you
Lit
said
it.
you had other questions?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Grant.
Okay, so my tangent isn't so much a tangent as in I want the floor to shit on this movie a little bit. I think I had so many thoughts about things that could have been different that would have made this so much less frustrating to watch. Like, first of all, this is a side thing, but did you guys realize that Betsy is 12?
The actor or the person?
The person.
The person.
But the actress
Was
is like I don't know, 25?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic
Like-
American high school movie.
And then, and because of that, when they talk later about her getting engaged, nobody bats a fucking eye because she
Yeah,
looks
that's a
like
very
she's
good
25.
point.
But no, she's 12.
Yeah, but also they got engaged a lot earlier, and it's the South.
Yeah,
Oh my
but still,
god! But no,
like,
that's a huge. And yet again, another reason why it's like you just glossed over that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so much information that just like they went, yep, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I wonder if the little girl is making up a witch story because she doesn't want to get married at 12.
Yeah. Maybe there's some trauma there.
Good
Jesus.
point.
Oh,
Good
wow.
Oh
point.
my god.
Personally, I think it all boils down to, like we've talked about, like there just isn't an angle. And I wanted an angle.
Yeah, exactly.
Like where these stories, it's like what we've talked about with the UFO videos. It's like a lot of people want to just bathe in the like fantastical embellishment and like the mystery itself instead of the resolution of that mystery. It's more about like, ooh, it's spooky and it might be real, who knows, instead of going like, where did the story come from, how did it affect people, like what is the actual truth that we know from this? Like we could still tell the story, but like why are we telling the story? Like I want to know more about that. Like who is this author? Why didn't we talk about that? Like we don't know.
Van
Like,
Buren's basically glossed over completely. He's just like, oh, he's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy who wrote
He's the guy that wrote it.
The script for us.
yeah, all of this came about because of one dude who we have no idea on the credibility of, and we're not told if he's credible or not. Like, and the angle is like, even some of the experts are like, maybe some of this is true, but that's not like how it's played. It's all played like it's fact.
Yeah.
And then that makes
Yeah.
it like, okay, well then if I'm playing it like it's fact, then I'm just watching a sequence of events that doesn't seem like it happened, but I'm just seeing a sequence of events that is just like an onslaught, like a marathon of just like, and then they knocked on the walls again. And I'm like, oh my God, they knocked on the walls
Stop
again.
knocking on the walls.
Yeah. I think saying that there's no angle is like explains exactly why I felt that there was nothing to learn. Like with Three Identical Strangers, for example, where like, oh, like we can say it's a story about these triplets, but actually it's actually secretly a story about nature versus nurture. You can't say that with this documentary. There's nothing behind it. Even though the 5 others that we watched were like, oh, actually it's not about this at all. That's
Yeah.
the surface level stuff. There's something deeper. With this one, there's nothing below.
I wonder if it would have been served by being like a series, and then like things would have been spread out, and like maybe there would be more production time. Maybe there's like
More Kickstarter backers.
more kick, but there's this time to tell the story where it doesn't feel all shoved into like an hour and a half. I'm not saying necessarily would be better, but
Just throw more money at it. You know what?
Yeah, of course.
Give him
Yeah,
$1 million. Give him
but
2.
it's like
Give him 3.
it needed
$3 million.
space. It needed a lot of things, but what it really needed, like Grant is talking about, is like an angle. But
An
it needs
angle, yeah.
space to like identify it and like actually establish it.
Yeah, like I think we're definitely like spoiled a little bit when it comes to Netflix documentaries because some of them are just so expertly edited.
Yeah.
Like they have such a body of footage that are so disconnected from each other, but the direction is there because they're like, we know what the story we want to tell
Yeah.
with this information. But this one, it just felt like, here's all the information. We just kind of threw shit in a timeline
Yeah.
and then kind of segment, like the segments drove me insane because it feels like you have a lot of information that could actually have a coherent story. Maybe, I don't know, but it just definitely feels like you've talked about, Christian, it just feels like they kind of went in without a plan. Like the director or the direction didn't seem like there was any, or the editor just kind of went, I got dailies, I'm just going to make chapters and then maybe we'll fix it later. But no, and it was just pushed out.
Do you think they were in the middle of interviewing and shooting before they realized, oh crap, this sucks? Or do you think they could have figured this out, like pre-production, early research phase?
It's impossible to know. You know, it's like, I feel like there could be a myriad of things that actually affected this. Like maybe they were in the process of filming and then COVID hit, and then it's like, oh, now we didn't get all of the bits of media that we really wanted to, or who knows.
Yeah.
And they had to be, and they're like, well, we said on the Kickstarter that it was going to be out this day, and if we didn't do that, then we have to give the money back or something. Who knows?
Money is a big factor. I think also, like, when you don't trust what you're doing, you tend to add more and more and more elements, which I think that was something I really noticed in it, where it was like, okay, then like we have to have drawings, which like I enjoyed the drawings, but it's like we had to have the drawings and we have the chapters and we have the like life recreation, and we also have this woman narrating the book, and we also have all of this stuff. And it like really feels like they did not trust the story they were telling, and they were worried people were not going to get it. But by doing that, people didn't get it.
Yeah, they focused heavily on the wrong things.
Yeah.
Right.
Even the flavor, like the intro title sequence that I thought was really cool. Like, even if they didn't have it, I don't think that's where you need to put the money.
Exactly.
Like, you need to put the time in the edit. The edit is one of the most important parts of a documentary. Is like, okay, we have all this information, and if you're a skilled editor or someone who has the time to think about this, my guess is it was probably the latter for this movie. But you take the time to go, okay, here's all this stuff. Now, what's the story that we can tell? Not, here's all the stuff, put it in a timeline.
Yeah.
That's not what should be happening. It should be, what are we saying? It doesn't seem like that was really thought about or had time.
You just inspired me to change my next documentary. I'm going to change it from the 4chan one to The Cutting Edge, The Magic of Movie Editing. It's a documentary about, like, it has Spielberg, Tarantino, Cameron, like a bunch of filmmakers, and they talk all about editing. So
That sounds
what we'll
amazing.
do.
That sounds really cool.
That's a great segue.
This is making me think about, too, just like how much work actually does go into making a really cohesive documentary. Right? Like imagine, I'm trying to think about, like, well, what would I, like, if I were to make this documentary today, like, let's say that we are the filmmakers, because we've been trashing them a lot, at least their work. Let's not, you know what I mean? Like, we've been critiquing them. We've been critiquing their work. And now how do we do it differently? Well, the first and foremost thing is, make sure you have a very strong idea and you've done a lot of pre-research into this thing, and like you have an angle in which you are going to go into this. And then the second thing is you take copious notes as you interview these people, and then you start to find a thread between everything that they're saying, right? We're like, oh, well, I thought this coming into it, but then this person said something that made me start to think about this a little bit differently. I'm going to follow this thread and see where it takes me, and make tons of notes like that. Then go to the next person, tons of notes like that, go to the next person, so on and so forth. And as you start to find these things, you got to mark down, like, oh, that's a really good point. We need to make sure that we include that. Oh, that makes me think of this, that this other person said. And then you have to sit down and you have to really work with a fantastic editor to be like, here's the first idea that we had. Here's the idea that we found inside of creating the documentary, like getting the footage and everything. Now, what is the movie? Right? Because the movie happens in the edit. So now you have to find and work really closely with an editor to do that.
But also accomplish it as you go. There was one thing that's like on this topic that I really wanted to highlight is Chris and I watched this documentary about the mob and Gotti. And like there's this one point that I'll never forget where like this one guy is talking and they're filming outside the car, and it feels like you're like riding with him or you're watching him. And it's like really, really powerful. And it's like, how did you decide to make that shot? Was that something like way ahead of time? You're like, I just got to get this one shot. I really care about this, and everything else is filling in. Like maybe that's something you really thought of, or maybe the stories influence you to shoot it like this. I think like that's also a big piece of it, is like, how did you like actually bring these interviews on screen? Because sometimes you can just have the chair. But we also talked about in some documentaries, I mean, we watched that series, the 7, what was it called? The something church. And like they would leave the camera on and then watch the people like sort of react after and how like their demeanor changes. There's all these decisions that go into making a documentary. And I think it's really easy to see a bad one and like judge a bad one. I think it's easy to look at something and be like, this is not good. I think it's so much harder to like actually make all of these pieces come together and be cohesive and work.
I just wanted to point out that documentaries like are incredibly difficult to make. Like some of the most difficult filmmaking, because there is no script. You're not following a shot list. You're interviewing people, you're gathering information, and only does a story start to form until you start going through that footage. The edit is the bulk of production in a documentary compared to a regular film. Like that is the work, is the edit. That is the bulk of how you tell your story, and you can't just throw it together. And not to say that it's easy, it's not, but it requires just time and perfectionism.
There are a few parts that I think they would have to figure out before the edit, and I think it could be accomplished just by pitching the idea, like just talking to your friends about what like the film that you're making throughout the whole journey. Because if you like, let's say I was making the documentary, and at some point I told Grant, oh yeah, this 12-year-old girl who was getting married, blah blah blah, and then Grant would be like, hold on a second, what the did you just say?
Right.
And then he'd stop me, and then like same thing if I was talking about the slavery thing, like Chris would be like, wait, tell me more about that. And then I'd be like,
he was walking back and forth between the properties to see his wife. That, you know, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm not necessarily saying that there isn't any work in the production. There is. It's just compared to a regular film.
Oh yeah.
Where the script is done and like there's a shot list and like there's dailies. That's not how a documentary works. Like you have some notion of what you'd like to say, but not really anything nearly as planned out as a regular film. And that's why it takes the majority of the time.
That makes sense. There's no like writer's room to pitch your stuff to.
Right.
You're like figuring it out as you go.
Yeah.
Because it's more unpredictable.
Yeah. You're trying to not only take an angle, right? But you're also trying to read what is the story here that it's trying to be told. How am I going to edit this in a way so the story that wants to be told is being told?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I think we can step into the green room.
Your light's green.
Wow.
Totally intentional.
We need green room music if you've got some.
Let me see if I can find some.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, just the air horns.
Here
We can also
we
just
go.
do it in post.
Yeah, let's do it in
it's
post.
true.
Put on the green room music. All right. So I don't have anything specific to talk about this week. Again, I feel like I was so just like
I always forget we have this.
I was so disappointed by the documentary that's all I could focus on was just like, man, that was such a dud. And I was so excited because I love the whole culture of like the bathtub and Creole culture, and like American folklore is so interesting to me. So I was like, and then I don't have anything specific to talk about. But Mo, you were like, let's start with Mo.
Sure, yeah. We know about Blumhouse Productions. Blumhouse Productions produced some of the movies that we talked about earlier, like Jordan Peele's movies, Mike Flanagan's movies. And they have now also decided to move into games. They're focusing on indie horror games. And like, even though they have money, they're focused on low budget productions. Like, to your point, Chris, like sometimes that's just specifically the thing that we like. And so I will play now a trailer that they showed off, I think at the, what's the Keeley thing called again?
Summer Game Fest.
Summer Game Fest. Here we go.
Okay, I had a moment where like the opening imagery with like the doll faces, I was like, oh, is that just like intro design, like imagery? And then like it went to the little people game, and I was like, are they the same game? And why did they tease us with the beautiful animation? And then I realized they were previewing different games.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
That like Stardew Valley type game looks really, really interesting. Like top down, 8-bit adventure. Like, I guess it's like an RPG in essence, but with these horror aspects to it. Really excited about some of those titles. That looks really cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
That PlayStation 1 type game looks really fun.
Yeah, right. I wanted to just jump on that too, because like they said that they're focusing on indie developers and things like that, and this thing of like low budget charm is such a double-edged sword, because what we're kind of talking about is also how they're going to make a good return, right? Least amount of money for the biggest return, right? And I'm sure that most of these indie productions would love a bigger budget, would love to have a little bit more cash to bring on a few more people to make it whatever. So the charm of it is that you have to kind of cut corners because of the budget, but you could do that if you really wanted to style it like that anyway, you know? And so I get a little bit like, okay, just give the damn people their money. Like, so they can make, because the thing is that these artists, the reason why these games are going to be good is not because they're being released under Blumhouse or that because they have this indie charm or whatever. It's because these artists really care about their work, right? And they love the work that they're doing. So if a game is good, it's because the artists behind them made it good, you know? And I think the good thing that Blumhouse is probably doing is that they're like hands off, right? Because I feel like, I get it, capitalism, money, budget, all of that, right? You can't just give $1 million to every single person. But when you give somebody a small amount of money, it's like a low risk investment. So maybe the studio feels like, oh, I can then take my hands away. And if it's a dud, it's a dud. But if it's a banger, we're going to make some sweet stacks, baby.
Yeah.
You know? And so they're not going to interfere with it because they don't want to. Because when they don't interfere is when they get the massive return. And if they don't, okay, whatever. It was only $500,000. But the other game that was made for $500,000 made $8 million. So we're all good there. It's the same model of like Paranormal Activity was made for what, $1 million, and it's one of the highest grossing horror movies of all time. You know, classic.
Yeah.
Classic
I was
formula.
surprised that they introduced films like Megan, The Black Phone,
I know. I was thinking the
and
same
Friday
thing.
Night at Freddy's. I'm like, why didn't you guys say like Get Out? Like Get Out was so critically acclaimed, and like these are newer things. Like, don't you want to sort of kind of situate yourself in like, hey, we made this like 10 years ago, and we also made this one 5 years ago, so you can sort of see the span of like what they've done. It just felt like very much like, here are the last 3 things we did. And like, I don't think The Black Phone got great reviews.
Sorry to interrupt. Paranormal Activity, and again, this is Blumhouse is also, I don't know if they're a studio as much as they are a distributor, right? So I don't know if they are the ones who provided this money to the filmmakers, but the budget of Paranormal Activity, the first one, was $15,000.
Oh my God.
And how much did it make?
It has made it's probably made more, but by the end of its worldwide theatrical run, the box office total was $194 million.
Oh my God.
And for context, the Mark of the Bell Witch cost $20,000.
Yeah.
Oh my
Just goes to show you when you have a good
God.
idea, you win the
Yeah.
lottery basically.
Holy, but like that's what
crazy.
That's what Blumhouse is kind of betting on, right? It's like we're gonna give you $100,000 to make your game, or whatever, right? Stretch and you know that an effective artist will take that money and stretch it as far as they can, and make a movie like Paranormal Activity or a game, and if it's good, it'll definitely make it back, and it'll probably make a lot more back.
Yeah,
too.
because money doesn't buy quality. It definitely helps with certain things like cameras and people and etc. But like, goes to show.
That's crazy.
Goes to show.
Ghost to show.
Ghost show.
Goes to show.
Ghost in the
And
shell.
My last thing was just so Grant, you mentioned that there's this that Derek accepted your LinkedIn request. So I'm gonna show you guys some cool so we have context. So Derek Liu is this guy who's known for being a video game trailer expert, and this is my last thing for the green room. And he, like, I saw his TikToks and people know him to be like a game trailer expert. He made the trailer for the Outer Sloth thing that I showed you guys last time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was him, and he also did the trailer for Firewatch and some other stuff.
Oh,
He
nice.
went to Tish.
Oh, sick.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty
wow.
cool.
Oh my
nice.
God. When I saw his face, I'm like, oh, he looks really young. And it's not that he's
Yeah,
older.
I
but
agree
was
with you.
like,
When I saw this, I was like, wait, he's in his
What?
40s? No way.
holy
Whoa.
crap. They didn't even, yeah, he said film. They didn't even, I don't think they had game
Get that
design
man's
then.
skincare routine. Come on.
Yeah. His skin looks
Eric,
amazing.
drop the skincare routine.
By the way, did my screen actually share? Or
I
did
put it
not?
up for you.
Oh, you did? Thanks. Yeah, because when I'm on that other tab, I always forget to come back and show it. So when I'm sharing my screen, please do just go ahead. Anyway, Grant, you sent him a request. He accepted, and he sent you like a bunch of resources. Mm-hmm. I went and read a bunch of his stuff, and it's like a fascinating industry. So like video game trailers is like a very specific thing. There are like video game trailer houses that you can go work at, and that's like apparently the best way to get into the industry. I don't even know why I care, but I was fascinated by these articles that Derek had written. Apparently you have to like move to LA. That's the best way to go into one of these agencies. Start as an assistant, work your way up. Some game developers are big enough that they have an internal video editor or team, and it's harder to get a job at a game company because it's less likely to be a job that you can start entry level. Like it's much easier to go to an agency and be an assistant, work your way up. And the last thing that I took away was that there's a thing called capture artist in the games industry. Like these are literally just people who are capturing the gameplay and then moving around the camera in a like cinematic way, in an artistic way that then games will use in their trailers and stuff like that. And that is a legit job. And I just had no idea that that was a thing. That is absolutely fascinating. And the
It's
last
like a
thing,
cinematographer.
yeah. And the last thing that I took away from reading his stuff is that making fan trailers of a game is like a cool, useful thing to do for your career.
Yeah. Wait, because you said like if you work as an assistant in these agencies and work your way up, what do you work to?
Editor.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking because I have a friend who's worked in like media entertainment, like sort of working at an agency as an assistant, and like above eventually she would become an agent. So in those it would be like editors. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I was gonna say, I'm like, how do we get
Yeah,
there?
it was pretty cool. Grant, what did you take away from it?
Honestly, same kind of deal. It's an interesting industry. Like I also looked through some of the places that he recommended that you look for places that are hiring. There's just like trailer house after trailer house after trailer house of like so many that do all the trailers. Like it was eye-opening because like you would expect like the studio that is like publishing a movie to do trailers, but no, not really. Mostly agencies do it, which is pretty wild.
Outsource it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what were you going to say about the capture artist thing?
Oh, no, it's just like a cinematographer. Just like how there needs to be editors for trailers for real films, there needs to be people who are capturing the footage on set, but for games. So,
yeah.
Yeah, one of the examples he gave was someone named Sunny Legend, who's like a YouTuber who creates like...
I know that
yes,
name.
yeah.
Okay, so he's known as like being a really good gamer, and he captures like amazing sequences where he's doing cool shit in whatever game. And this guy eventually got like a full-time job working at like a Sony studio. I think it was Guerrilla Games. And this was just by making like YouTube videos and stuff like that. And now he's a capture artist for them, which is pretty
It's really cool.
That's so cool.
Yep. All right, who next?
Who next?
Well, again, I don't really have anything for the green room this
I don't
week.
really either.
We're at 2 hours basically. Grant, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the green room?
I mean, I have a small little one.
Hit it. Send it.
I went and watched Inside Out 2.
Oh, how was it?
Nice.
It was really good. I genuinely wasn't expecting a sequel to be as good because like Pixar sequels are hit or miss.
Except
but
for
this
Toy
one-
Story.
right? Except for that's what I mean, hit or miss.
Hit.
Hit. So
Like the Bell Witch.
I was expecting this movie to be like kind of, especially because they didn't get all the same actors. I was like, is this just gonna kind of suck? Is this gonna be like a Cars 2 kind of moment? No. I really enjoyed this movie. And what's funny is I went and watched it with my partner, and she hadn't watched the original. So after the movie, we went and watched the first one. I think I liked the second one more. I
Wow.
was really genuinely surprised by how much I liked the second one. It talks about more complex emotions, but clearly from a place where they talk to professionals about how this stuff works. Like, it's not totally realistic, because like the timing in which all this like healing happens in Riley is like 3 days, when most people don't even get it done in a decade.
Love.
But the process in which she got there is very accurate to how it works. I thought it was so fun, so interesting, and the story, like comparing it to the first one now, I realized, oh, this one was just better. It was just made better. Just like it was felt more focused, which was really good.
Yeah.
My mind went to a very garbage place when you were like, yeah, because they make like more complex emotions, and I was just like, how do the Pixar emotions make more complex emotions? It's probably like sadness and anger got to bang to make like, you know, like
When two
fury-
emotions love each other very much.
Yeah, exactly. They come together to make a more complex
a mommy
emotion.
emotion and a daddy emotion. No, it's they add new emotions. So it was like fear, sadness, anger, joy,
Horny.
and disgust. Right? But it was like, it was simpler in the first movie because it was a child, you know, pre-puberty child. So the emotions that you feel are generally going to be more simple. But this is about when Riley, the main character, or I don't even know if she counts as the main character, but the human goes into puberty. And then all of a sudden, new emotions come up. So anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and ennui? I don't know how to say that.
Ennui.
Ennui.
Ennui, that's the one.
Ah,
So there's just more complicated emotions that all kind of interact with each other. And I thought that was really fun, really interesting how it works in a human body. And I think they portrayed like panic attacks really well. It focused more on anxiety than it did depression. So it definitely spoke to me a little bit more because I've dealt with anxiety more than depression, but it was really beautifully done. Very, very good.
So, unless this spoils something, could you tell us the path by which the healing process happened? Because you mentioned that was done really well.
Well, it just like the first movie. I'll just use the first movie as an example. Spoilers for the first movie, but essentially the journey is that as a kid, you want to be happy all the time. And joy is just trying to take control over all the negative emotions. Like just going like, yeah, all these other emotions are okay. They have their place, but they're really not that important in the grand scheme of things. You should always be happy. But then in the end of the movie, it's realized like, oh, sadness is really important to be able to be happy. Grieving and sadness like are important emotions that need to be felt and not something to be afraid of. Like that was like kind of the message of that first one. And that's kind of how dealing with an emotion works, is not letting it take over. Like there are times when like you'll be just overtaken by anxiety or by stress or by whatever you're feeling, and then it just rules your life. That's when it becomes, okay, it's overstaying its welcome. But like anxiety has a reason for existing. It's for protection. It's for survival. And so looking at it like it's this villain is not helpful. Looking at it more like it's helpful for when it's needed, and honoring that emotion for when you're having it is how you come to healing. And then close to the end of the movie, spoilers, but anxiety like kind of chills out a little bit, and joy goes, okay, we can't control that big thing that we're afraid of. We can't. But what can we control? And then anxiety goes, well, we have this Spanish assignment that we got to do. And he's like, great, think about that. That's a therapy tactic. I believe that's cognitive behavioral therapy, is focusing on what you can do, not what you can't. So it's really well done. Really, really good.
Can I say something really silly that I just realized?
Yeah.
So the person who plays anxiety is Maya Hawke.
Maya Hawke,
who I mentioned before is playing Flannery O'Connor. Boom! Connection.
Also, Io Adebri plays Envy, who I love. She is a fantastic actress.
and I envy her greatly.
What just happened?
We
You
had a
wouldn't
moment, don't worry
understand.
about it.
Apes
You wouldn't
together,
understand.
strong.
Is
Yeah,
that from
literally.
Planet of the Apes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen any of them.
I saw the first
Highly
one.
recommend. Yeah.
No, and I saw a little bit of the second one. They are interesting movies. For
I haven't
sure.
seen it either. I haven't seen any of the Godzillas or
The first one
Okay.
doesn't have CG monkeys. They're people in makeup. It's a Tim Burton film, and it's wild.
Oh, that's the one you watched, so not the
Yeah.
reboots. Okay,
No,
okay.
that is the reboot. The very first of the reboot, I think. And then there's the one with James Franco. James Franco is
Yeah.
the next one. The one that has Mark Wahlberg is the one right before that. Is the one that I watched. That
Okay.
I believe
okay,
was
okay.
supposed to be a remake of the original Planet of the Apes.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right. I think we can wrap it up.
Can we pause super quick? I'm gonna piss my pants.
Okay.
I really have to pee.
Okay.
I'll be like 2 seconds.
I might as well too.
Yep. Let's
Okay.
all take a. I'm gonna pause the recording. Let's take a pee break. And that's a wrap.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
And leave us a thumbs up if you like this episode.
Before we say goodbye, check out the description to know what we're watching next. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's do it.
Bye.